At the Castle Bar courts here today, and I'm up in front of the judge at 10:30 here for being taken off a bus in Ballyhonest for not wearing a mask. I was in here a couple of months ago. They said that they might have possible further charges to charge me with, which I don't know how they're going to do this, but that's what we're here today. I'm ready to fight this case. I'm ready to prove that the guards on the bus committed a crime along with the driver by enforcing me to wear a face mask, and that I have the proof that I'm exempt, and that I don't have to wear a face mask. Anybody in the guidelines, it says anybody that feels uncomfortable wearing a face mask doesn't have to, and that the people that can't wear a face mask have not to be discriminated against. Now, I've been arrested twice for not wearing a mask. I have been completely discriminated the past few months. I have been under 24-hour surveillance by the Garda. They have been completely intimidating me since this incident. So, let's see how today plays out. I'm exempt.
Yeah,
See, he stopped me from going in because I wasn't wearing a mask.
I know, unbelievable.
Oh, fine.
The evidence is very clear that the guards had essentially contrived a situation to achieve their public order charge, because only very skillfully, I thought, in cross-examination exposed that at the point where he was asked for his name and address, which was one of the charges, he had not actually done anything remotely resembling a public order offence. They tried to drum it up that he had insulted people on the bus, but there were no witnesses from the bus, and there was no evidence that anybody had been insulted. The second offence, then, public order, seemed to be a general sort of demeanour charge. But at the point when he was at the aggression and general insulting behaviour towards people on the bus, none of which was visible from the tape in evidence, but it seems to me that the judge is entirely a statist person.
What judge was it?
I think her name is Judge Lydon.
Yes.
And
Fiona Lydon, is it?
I think so. And it seems to me that this man, Andy, had no chance whatever in this court, and that we now live in effect, a police state, where the police can make up laws, contrive situations where they can force people into legal dilemmas which they can't escape from. The law is constructed like that. It allows for a reasonable excuse, an exemption, but it doesn't provide a proper mechanism whereby somebody can claim anything such. And as a result, arbitrarily, bus drivers and the like are simply deciding on a whim to pick on people or not. And the guards come along and enforce this, even though it is unenforceable, as evidenced by the fact that they did not bring any charge relating to the face mask breach, so-called, or the COVID thing in general, but constructed it purely on his demeanour on the bus, when he was, by his own admission, upset, as you would expect, agitated, as you would expect. It was the day of his uncle's funeral. He wanted to go home. I'm speechless, really. I think today is a very dark day in terms of justice. I wouldn't want to go before an Irish court now, frankly, after seeing what I've seen in that courtroom in there for the last 3 hours. It's a quite shocking situation.
Well, Justice Lydon, her name will go down in history as being one of the most corrupt judges.
I knew, by the way, sorry, Gemma, I knew, and I kind of tried to warn Andy, although he did well in his examination. I said I could tell from the judge's demeanour that she's intensely pro-Garda. She was differentiated
The guards are running.
She was differentiated to the guard. She was quite dismissive and rude towards Andy from time to time. Didn't give him an opportunity. Was incoherent and inconsistent in the way that she handled the giving of evidence. And she went away, and she was almost an hour gone concocting her judgment.
Getting a phone call from Drew Harris.
Now, there seems to be some issue about the arrest. It seems to have been conceded. I missed it because I had to leave the room briefly, just at the wrong time. Murphy's Law. The only law around here is Murphy's Law. But there seems to be some suggestion that the arrest, that there is an admission or a concession by the judge that the arrest was unlawful. But that the evidence before the arrest, which goes to the charges, this is a legal point which I think will come up at appeal. I've no doubt Andy will appeal it, but he's now in a situation where he's the judge imposed a surety or a cognizance of €500 in cash, and Andy just doesn't have any money, and he is now in custody, and he is to be taken away. I guess we
Hold
don't know.
on. So is there an issue with bail?
Yes, there is an issue with bail, but
so he didn't have the cash on?
He didn't have the cash. He has no money. He told me.
Well, that can be arranged.
So I don't know what the situation is now. I suppose we will have to ask.
Well, we will apply to have him released and pay his bail, depending on the amount, obviously.
€500, I gather. As far as it's difficult to follow the judge's logic because it was unnecessarily complex. And it seems that there was a determination to make an example of Andy Eastman today. I know that that's part of what's going on here.
So you're guilty now until proven guilty, to start off with.
That's kind of the way it is now,
Yeah.
Well, we'll give you an update.
So what they're doing now, because they can't enforce it, when they're called to a situation, they're trying to concoct another offence, usually under the Public Order Act. And that's what you get here. So somebody is argumentative if they defend themselves. If you say I'm disabled, I have a disability, that's being argumentative.
That's public order.
And that's public order. Andy was not in any way violent. He was not in any way threatening. The video is there. He was agitated, certainly. Who wouldn't be? He wants to go home. His uncle has died. He wants to go home. He has a disability. He has asthmatic. He brought a mask with him in the hope he would be left alone. He put it across his forehead in the hope that would be sufficient not to be harassed. Sadly, he met the wrong bus driver that day, who called the guards. Who then, once the guards were there, then it was only a matter of how they were going to stitch him up. Because they had no choice, because the law is unenforceable. The only way they can deal with it, other than do it in the way they've done today, which is operationally corruptly, is for the Garda Commissioner to say this is unenforceable, and the Garda Commissioner will not say that. When there are criminals walking on the street. I've just been in there for an hour for the call over in relation to lots of other cases. Lots of them public order. Not one case in a jail sentence. They got the Probation Act, and there were far more serious issues, but infinitely greater, more serious issues than Andy Eastman's case. But if you're an honest citizen who actually wants to invoke the law of the land, watch out, because you're a problem.
It was a complete stitch-up,
A
Gemma.
complete stitch-up.
Complete
Well, we've been
stitch-up.
out saying this all day.
Yeah, thanks so much for being here. I'm kind of quite emotional after what the experience of just being in there. I mean, there's no exemptions in there. Absolutely none. You know.
You've been forced to wear a
I've been
mask.
forced to wear a mask. They wouldn't let me into the prison. They kept me out in the cold for about an hour like this while it was raining because I wouldn't wear a mask. They says